Hey everyone, I'm your host Adrian. We do content like this weekly, so hit the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified. If you want more content like this, click the like button and please leave a comment. Thanks again for watching. But super excited for today's conversation and welcome. Very excited to, like I mentioned a moment ago, to get going here. And so welcome to today's Rupa Live class presented by Rupa University, the best way to learn about specialty lab work from industry experts. My name is Adrian Martinez, and today we have a very special guest in Dr. Anup Kanodia, here to discuss clinical pearls for assessing stress. Before jumping in, just a couple of quick housekeeping items. Everyone joining will be muted by default, but if you have any questions, don't fret. Please use that Q&A button down in your menu bar, and we'll go ahead and host a live Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Immediately following the Q&A, yours truly will show you exactly how to order these tests directly on Rupa Health. And if you have to jump early or maybe you joined a little bit late, no worries at all. We always record these sessions, and we'll go ahead and send that out in the coming days once we've had the opportunity to edit it. And you can also find it on rupauniversity.com once we upload it there. And lastly, if you are a fan of this type of content, be sure to check out rupauniversity.com to get access to all of the previous sessions that we have done, and of course access to this session once it's uploaded. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. I'd like to introduce Dr. Anup Kanodia. Dr. Kanodia is a classically trained physician who quickly realized that his initial medical school training was not enough for him fundamentally to help people achieve true, long-lasting health. Early in his residency, he began to notice the symptoms drug approach worked for acute problems, but is inadequate. And it's inadequate because it's entrenched in dispensing pharmaceuticals and not how to reach and search for the root cause and treat the person, not just their symptoms. And so began his journey in another 3 years of medical training that introduced him to the world of alternative and functional training. He learned how to help people get to the root cause of a myriad of different illnesses, such as chronic fatigue, allergies, recurrent infections, depression, and irritable bowel. How stress could destroy a person's health, and that yeast overgrowth is the silent demon robbing thousands of people of their health. Absolutely. For the undiagnosed that had tried everything, he learned that there are solutions. His mission is to dig for the root cause, identify it, treat it, and eliminate it. This process is key to help people transform their health, empower them to live a joyful life that they were meant to live. Dr. Kanodia, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited, and I'll go ahead and pass the reins over to you.
Awesome. And so then the video comes from my screen here?
Yep, so you'll go ahead and just share your screen.
Love it.
And then you are ready to rock.
Okay, can people see my screen?
Yeah, everything looks all good.
Love it. Okay. And I'm going to try to make this as much as I can interactive in the chat box too. So you can see that there, the clinical pearls for assessing stress. There we go. I was very fortunate to train with Mark Hyman for a couple years while I was at Harvard. I've been doing this for about 15 years now. We see about 13,000 visits a year at the office. What's interesting, we track our data on our results, and about 95% of our patients see improvement within the first 3 months. Our Google rating's a 4.9. And the reason why I'm talking about this is that I've done a lot of these tests from the UNESCO, about almost 800 of them. And why do I like this test? I think this slide says it all, that in terms of, they did an 8-month study, and all the greens, light greens are before, all the dark greens or blues are after. When people did their actual lab test, treated it, and repeated their labs, the scores all went down. Not all, but you can see all these ones, and it is statistically significant. So I love any time I have data to help pick out what I'm going to use for lab testing and treatments. Why this company? They use the gold standard in terms of neurotransmitter analysis, the mass spec. They have the high sensitivity and specificity, which we all know and love. Every run has a control group, which is critical, and they do the third-party testing. And many companies actually don't. Our agenda is understanding stress, how it may be something else people think, but it's really stress. Looking at neurotransmitters and adrenal hormones for stress. Widening out, then we all just think of it as neurotransmitters, or widening out, we all think it's just adrenals. Employee testing results, a step-by-step process to restore, and getting the neurotransmitters and adrenals testing to gain the trust and compliance of patients. We'll leave some time for Q&A. So I'm going to ask this stuff from the audience, and please use the chat box. How many people that we're just talking to now ourselves feel either angry or irritable at times, fatigue, lack of motivation or interest, anxiousness, nervousness, headaches, sadness or low mood, GI complaints, muscle tension, appetite changes, right? So there are yeses in the audience, right? And what connects them together, right? It's really the common link is stress. And you don't even have to have all of these, just even one of these. And so what we see is when people have stress, they might not talk about stress, but they might complain about anger, fatigue. So when we look at root causes, then we say, should we just treat muscle tension with, a muscle relaxant, or is it really stress that causes it? And other things people see is sexual problems, weight changes can also be stress related. And how much is stress affecting us? 77% of physical symptoms could be stress related. 73% is affected mental health, and 48% of sleep issues could also be stress related. And 75% of Americans have a moderate to high level of stress. So the way I look at it is almost every patient I see, I'm thinking, how is stress affecting them? Let's ask another question for the audience. What percent of people do we see in the doctor's office, doctor, whatever, nurse practitioner, PA, whatever our providers are here, are impacted by stress? A, B, C, or D? Put one of those in the box, the chat box. A, B, C, or D. We got some answers, and we have a smart audience here. The answer is yes, D. 70-90% of all doctor visits are because of stress. So what's the number one test I order? Is something on stress. So I can figure out how to help them on that. And why is this important? Stress does what? There's perceived stress. It affects sleep, inflammation, and sugar control. So why is the testing important? Because there's all various types of stress out there. And if you know the type of stress, you're able to treat it properly. Stress also impacts mood, sugar, heart health, immune system, lungs, cell health, overall aging. Stress affects the gut. Now, here's really cool. How many people in their clinic do lifestyle changes? Whether nutrition, exercise, just put a yes or no in the chat box. I see some yeses, see some more yeses. And who likes to climb uphill or make life harder themselves? I don't. Does anyone like to make their stuff harder on themselves? I see some no's, right? And so one of the things I found is putting things in the right order makes a difference. And what do I mean? If someone's stressed, they have a hard time changing exercise. The studies show they're going to smoke more, overeat, and drink more alcohol. Stress predicts actually less exercise. Stress actually affects our eating, how much calories take, and the type of calories, high fat, high sugar. You also eat less fruits and vegetables, and there's more snacking. So the take home here, this is one of your take homes, is I treat stress first before I treat having people exercise more or having people change their diet. If I do the other way around, it doesn't work. 3 types of stress. We have high cortisol, or that high adrenaline. I have found that most patients don't understand the word cortisol. If you use the word adrenaline, they can relate to that more. And so even though adrenaline is different than cortisol, I find that to be really helpful for them. You're running on adrenaline. You're running on rocket fuel. Another type of stress is low neurotransmitters. Low GABA, low serotonin. A third type is that they're stressed because burnout. There's no more gas in the car. The gas light's on E. So what's happening? And there's a study from Stanford that shows this, that how do we empower people with stress? Stress is most harmful when they feel what? Stress is against their will, devoid of meaning, out of control. The critical thing here is a lot of my patients don't believe they're stressed. How many people in the audience, their patients don't believe that they're stressed? Your husband, totally get it. Yep, a lot of people. So here's a quick question I ask, not trick, but I'll ask them, what would your friends and family say about you? How often do they think that you're stressed or anxious? And many times they'll say, wow, they think it's a lot more than I realize. Let's jump back to that. This is why we test. This is why I test. I want to show them that one, stress is in their control, that it could be hormone related, GABA, serotonin, it could be adrenals related, etc. And I say, we can figure out what type of stress you are having in your body. And when they see the data, they're more likely to realize, yes, this is something to do. Let's talk about the high stress, high cortisol here. The test I run is called the HbA from Senesco. They have different types of tests. And it has 2 parts, the adrenals and the neurotransmitters. Both parts play into terms of stress. There's 2 parts. We all know about the HpA axis, hypothalamic pituitary axis. It's got the adrenals and a couple of neurotransmitters. But then we also have the inhibitory neurotransmitter, serotonin GABA, and the stimulating, norepinephrine and glutamate. Here's another tip. Always treat the inhibitory first, and then treat the excitatory. Since most of our patients are anxious or stressed rather than depressed, I always treat GABA serotonin first, wait a couple weeks, and then do the norepinephrine, glutamate, dopamine pathways. This is what one of the reports look like, to keep it simple. And I love it because it's simple. You have the inhibitory up top, serotonin GABAs, you have the excitatory, dopamines, you have the ratio, which means methylation, and then the adrenals and the DHEA. So I think it's nice. I say inhibitory means more of the anxiety, stress. Excitatory means more depression. Epi to epi means more methylation. And the adrenals means that adrenaline. Another learning point, DHEA helps balance cortisol. So if someone's DHEA is low in general because they've used it up, they've been have high adrenaline or high cortisol for so long. And many times when I give DHEA, they actually feel less stressed, which is kind of interesting. We don't think of it that way, but that's why I test it. Now, looking for the stress response, right? How does that happen to the body, right? So two things can happen. One, you see the ones here. We have stress. It can activate the sympathetic nervous system, which is the epi, norepi. Other, it can read the adrenals, the cortisol, and they all combine together to cause stress. But what's interesting is, again, we don't know what it is until we test. Here's high symptoms of high cortisol. Now think again in the audience about yourself. How many of you guys may have one of these things? Weight gain, acne, thinning skin, bruising, flush face, slow healing. Read the list here to yourself. Concentration, blood pressure, headaches, intestinal complaints, low mood, anxiousness, poor sleep, libido issues, head, neck, or back discomfort. How many people may have one of those things in the audience? Or you know patients that have those things? Cindy says yes. Anyone else may have any of those symptoms or know of someone that has them, their patients? Excellent. And I'm asking this, but I want you guys to get this information. I want you to be active and learn it with me. And so the great Margot says, it may also be low cortisol symptoms. You're absolutely right. And that's why I can't figure out if they're low cortisol or high cortisol by just the questions. But if they're asking these questions, then I got to figure out why. Is it low cortisol, high cortisol? Is it adrenals or not? Is it DHEA? Is it neurotransmitters? But a lot of our patients, it may be leading to some of these things. This could be the root cause. Now, when I looked at this research, I was surprised. What's the consequences of high cortisol? It can change the structure of our brain hormones, our brain neurons, right? Long-term stress, death of our brain cells. And interestingly, it can cause a serotonin deficiency. One question I ask my patients, again, to be successful is how you ask your questions. 90% comes in history. We all know that. A lot of people say, Doc, I'm not stressed or anxious. The question I'll ask them then is fine. Do you feel like you're running on adrenaline? Are you burning the candle both ends? And a lot of the time it can be, they'll say, yes, I'm a go-go person. I'm a type A. I'm a detail-oriented. I'm burning the candle both ends. And why is that important? Because that cortisol or adrenaline can get to the brain. And so this is not just something that happens in the outside the body, but also the central nervous system. What's also interesting that we all hear of this medical illness about Cushing's syndrome, right? The end stage of too much adrenaline. But 40 to 70 million people have too much adrenaline in their body. And it's not because of medication, not because of prednisone or something like that. It goes undiagnosed and misdiagnosed. So that's where we fit in functional medicine, integrated medicine, alternative medicine. Most docs aren't thinking about this. That's why we have to test and treat it. But what's also interesting is they're saying the obesity epidemic, weight gain, high blood pressure, diabetes can all be affected by cortisol. So could a lot of our weight gain our patients are seeing, or we're seeing ourselves in our own health, be due to too much adrenaline, meaning cortisol? The answer is yes. Now, Addison's is too low levels. Their numbers are probably lower than what we would want to see. They don't make enough. Let's talk about the second and third type. The first type was a high cortisol. So let's go beyond the cortisol part. Epinephrine enhances the body's innate immune system. Norepinephrine helps slow down some of the microbes. Serotonin is needed properly for cortisol activity. GABA helps release decreased stress response. So another big take home. I find that GABA is so underused for stress, anxiety. I'm not talking about gabapentin. I'm just talking about the GABA supplement. I find so much benefit with that because most people have done the serotonin, 5-HTP, etc. But most people have not looked at the GABA, which I find to be very helpful once it's low on the testing. So again, looking at this, we're now working on the neurotransmitter part. We've talked about the adrenal part already. So Margot, I'll get to your question here at the end, but we're going to focus on this part of the test now. The serotonin, GABA, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, glutamate, and the ratio. Serotonin's role, mood, anxiety, and anger. We all know this, how important serotonin is. It obviously balances the dopamine, norepinephrine. GABA, again, calms things down and also controls glutamate and norepinephrine, right? The body has a balance between highs and lows. Also helps lowering the cortisol, anxiousness, and hyperactivity. People use it for calm and sleep, definitely. I find it for all day long. Glutamate, this is what people think about the brain excitatory. And in general, people think that, we get too much glutamate, at least in America, in our foods and just life, and even chemicals, excitatory, anxiousness, norepinephrine, another neurotransmitter, secreted both places and associated again with high stress, anxious, and anger. Epinephrine is made by the adrenals. Again, high levels can cause stress, anxious, and blood sugar dysregulation. Again, stress, all these symptoms can be from multiple different things. It's hard for me to figure out what the stress is just based on history, because different things can cause it. Dopamine. This is the thing that we get. We think of dopamine is why every time we get a notification, Facebook, we want to check it. It's that hit that we get from checking our phones, etc. But if you have low dopamine, you're going to have more depression, more brain fog, more of those types of symptoms, low mood. And it's a critical pathway in many pathways you see there. Developmental problems, impulse control, delusions, out of touch with reality. Also, we see a lot with also the ADD and ADHD. I see a lot of low dopamine levels, lack of motivation, cravings, low libido, lack of joy. PEA associated with increased HPA axis or reactivity. Whenever I see PEA out of balance on my testing, I think there's something wrong with the adrenals, the cortisol and DHEA. It's a good marker for me. So it's interesting. And I'll take a step back about the serotonin. The serotonin, I think that we were probably also the study, I think it was out of Europe, about there's no correlation between serotonin and treatment of, I think it was like depression, because it's too simplistic. It's a multifactorial thing for why people have depression, anxiety. And we all know that in functional integrative medicine. But UNESCO actually did a study on anxiety or anxiousness. And what they did was they looked at people that were anxious and looked at treating the whole person. What they found was they did the testing, did treatments, but look at the serotonin levels, gone up. And the restoration of the neurotransmitters, it went the right way. You want dopamine and GABA to go up, you want epi to go down, norepinephrine to go up, the ratio to go up, and glutamate to go down. And then let's talk about the patterns of cortisol. So we think of cortisol, we want to have more cortisol in the daytime, less at night. Patients that have the mind thinking at night, so I'll ask patients, how long does it take you to fall asleep at night? If they're telling me it takes me about 30 minutes or more, I know that then that means, and I ask them, is your mind thinking? They say yes, then usually it's high cortisol. Or if they wake up in the middle of the night, it takes them over 15 minutes to fall back asleep, 15 minutes to fall back asleep, it's usually high cortisol. So therefore then, we're going to do things to lower that cortisol or adrenaline in their body. We're able to fall asleep and stay asleep. And sure enough, in their study, what did they do? They lowered the bedtime cortisol. So how do you treat this? So let me show you a couple case studies. A 44-year-old woman has abdominal pain, brain fog, fatigue, hip shoulder pain, gluten reaction, PMS, depression, candida, nutritional deficiencies. People that come see me, they have between 5 and 10 medical problems, right? And this were her labs. We have low serotonin, low GABA, low dopamine, epinephrine, glutamates, high cortisols, and low DHEAs. And she had a stressful life. And what I love about this test, at the very end of it, it gives me a hint of what to do. So Prolent, that helps with sleep, raises serotonin. Lentra is the GABA, and Procyte D raises the dopamine. So I like this. When I first started doing these tests, it gave me a help of how to implement the results. And yes, you can definitely call, UNESCO has a support team, a clinical person to help you read the results and put plans together. And I used to do a lot of that. And then afterwards, then it's like, if I have the report there, it's helpful for me to see it. What's also valuable is the patient sees it, and the patient does this, say, oh, wow, they're actually recommending this. And what I also love is it says right here that retesting is recommended 9 weeks. So they see that. So that also helps them to see what's really needed. So when I look at this person here or any patient, this is how I've done it. Over the 15, 20 years I've been doing this, 15 years plus, I'm like, I figure out the root cause. And as I figure out the root cause, I then summarize the story with them. I'll say, this is the reason why you have your symptoms based off of their history. And that's critical, that they understand or they see that you know what their problems are, that they felt heard. After I say that, I'll ask them, if they feel what I said is correct about their story. I want them to be buying in that, yes, we are on the same page. If they say no, I ask them, okay, what have I missed? And I keep doing that over and over until they say, yes, doc, you understand me. After that, I ask them, I do it on purpose. Is now a bad time to talk about next steps? Sometimes when they just hear their story about why they had their symptoms, that's enough. They want to go home and think about it. They know now's a good time to hear about next steps, and I'll tell them what I'm thinking about doing. We have a health coach that helps them out through the whole process. We recommend the tests that they need. We work on mindsets. We work on hydration. And we even start on some supplements right away once they mail in their lab tests. We work on sleep. We go over this test results, but they're already starting to feel better because we're working on mindset, hydration, give them some supplements, working on sleep. One of the critical things I find in functional medicine or anything, so my office, we are outside of insurance, people want to start feeling better right away, at least something moving in the right direction. So by us making them feel a little bit better right away, they're getting buy-in. Then we then add additional lifestyle changes, but we start off very simple. We give them a support system, the health coach. Our health coaching is free. We talk about the testing for them to think about it. Something low-hanging fruit is mindset, or 30 seconds to 1 minute thing that we want them to do. If they're not getting enough water, we add that. Again, something low-hanging fruit. Start some supplements, low-hanging fruit. Increasing sleep or optimizing sleep, low-hanging fruit. So they're seeing benefit, saying, yeah, I'm feeling better already while the tests are cooking. Sometimes test results may take 2-3 weeks, but we want them to feel better right away. And then down the line, we then add nutrition or we add exercise because we want them to get the basic stuff done first. Chance of success. Does that make sense? Big picture, what I just said there. A yes, no. Excellent. And I'm telling you this after 15 years of failures of, hey, this is how I'm doing it. And you guys probably have better techniques. That's great. Just want to share you mine. So what do? They now have these new reports, which I love. The bar of the old results and the new results. Old results have the date by it, and the new results are the more bold. And we can see that things are improving. Serotonin's improving. GABA's improving. Dopamine, and some of these I didn't treat yet, because I usually always start with the serotonin and GABA if they're low, and I'll add this dopamine stuff in later. But what happens is, as we work with her, we use different supplements over the time, and sure enough, it sounds crazy. I would not believe it if I didn't do it every day, but almost all of her symptoms went away. And I still don't believe it. I'm like, really? And I think the reason is we treat the root causes, and we have a system that helps them with the lifestyle changes. Another one, a 45-year-old female, here's a retest of the cortisol patterns, got much better overall. And again, on the retest, they talk about what supplements we may want to tweak around. 21-year-old and stomach bloating, gas, fatigue. They now do a quality score, QOL, and obviously the lower the better. And we can see these results. That helps us. And many times they may underreport at the very beginning. And then as they get to know you better, they'll give you the real answers down the line. But, she came in with doing exercise, she was taking some supplements herself, and her scores low on everything. So this is like the type 3 where she's burned out. This was a 21-year-old that was going for perfection. She was burning the candle both ends, yada, yada, yada. And you can see her adrenals. Keep it simple. You want the dotted line, this line, not dotted, but this green line within this green area. And hers is high here. She's running on adrenaline throughout the day to get everything done. And it tells them all the supplements that she needs. I don't use all of them. Keep it simple. I might start with just the Prolent and Lentra. Again, bring down the stress, anxiety. And if I need to, I may do some sleeping ones. The other trick about supplements is I usually wait 2 or 3 days before I add the next one in. Retest. Her score went up, but she's telling me, Doc, I feel better. She started trusting more. She said, well, Doc, I'm telling you the real answers. I'm like, okay. But 1 year later, when she was on the supplements, we got her off a lot of these. She was feeling much better, much better. And her scores improved a lot. And these scores here that are higher on cortisols are because she was on a supplement. So, well, now your scores are so high, we took her off the supplement because she no longer needs it, which I love. And the retest had a lot less that she needed supplement-wise. So keep it simple, 3-step plan. And it's all common sense. And I want to make sure everything is common sense to you guys. If it's common sense to you, there's common sense to our patients. One, we got to test, and that we've got to then, whether use supplements or something to treat it, retest, see what's working, what's not, and most times retest again for the maintenance phase. And I do this based on how much can they afford on the testing and supplement side. So I think this came up, the care package add-ons and analyses. So obviously you get the lab kit, etc. All the personal analysis and stuff, I think are add-ons. And then the formulas are also what they have. And so I like using most of their supplements. The only reason is because they've done this in their studies, and it's easy for patients to understand why they use this. They also, my patients, I'm not sure if similar to your guys' patients, they want to understand what is sort of serotonin, what is GABA, etc. And they have it all written out for the patients to read. So many times my patients have read it by the time they come to see me, so they're more informed. And they have the quality scores, which I love. So you can show them that you were 24, now you're 15, now you're a 6. Unless they're, of course, my patient, the number goes up. Just joking. But it's good for them to see tracking. They want to see 2 types of tracking, what we see from my patients. Number 1, they want to see how they're feeling better. 2, they want to see labs improving. When I show a patient, hey, your labs are improving, they're like, oh my God, something's actually happening, which is great. It validates the lifestyle change we're having them do. It validates the supplements they're taking. The supplements cost money. Testing costs money, right? And again, you'll get then what supplements to take, which for me as a busy practicing, doc, I love someone to help me out. So they have some supplements, all GMC certified, free of gluten, non-GMO, none of the hydrogenated stuff, and free of the biggest allergens we all want to keep away our patients from. And what's kind of cool is, and I guess why I like this is that, again, their supplements are based on the labs and what's actually worked in their studies. So they use some digestive enzymes, and I will use this on top of normal digestive enzymes, both. And they have things that make the GI tract able to absorb better. And as we know, most of our patients have GI tract issues. So the better absorption I get, the better results I get. So we're only giving the neurotransmitters to help the body make its own. We're only giving amino acids to help the body make its own neurotransmitters. So we're improving rather than using the medication. Also, it's making the balance work better too. So the Prolent is the one for serotonin. And this one here, so if serotonin's low, I'll use this. But this one's really good for people that have trouble staying asleep at night. People tell me, hey, doc, yep, wake up in the middle of the night, takes me over 15 minutes to fall back asleep. It's usually a low serotonin issue, many times. So I have them make sure I use this. And I'll start off with 1 pill, a week later go to 2 pills before bed. Lentra is their GABA. Trincolent also supports sleeping, just like the name of it. I'll use that as needed. The Prolent and Lentra is not enough. Integra helps support that inhibitory and excitatory balance. So a lot of times I'll use that as an add-on to the Prolent and the Lentra. I have a Contegra to it if the report says I need it. Procyti is what raises that dopamine. So the more depression side is what I see. And I wait 2-3 weeks of them using the Prolent and Lentra before I use the Procyti, if they have those symptoms of depression, low mood, etc., or brain fog, brain fatigue, etc. If the adrenals are off, you can use their adrenal supplement. And again, they have a Somatri. That's their melatonin, help with melatonin. But again, not all sleep issues are melatonin. That's why I love to look at the data to figure out when to use melatonin, when to use a Procyti, etc. The Methyl Max is something that if your norepinephrine epinephrine ratio is off, your methylation is off. Some things that we find, best to take is an empty stomach. Start slow, go slow. Start low, go slow. Response times varies. I see people they feel better within 2 to 3 months, sometimes sooner. So reestablishing optimal balance is possible. Assessment is through serum and saliva and urine. And again, if your patients have any of these symptoms, it could be stress related, sleep issues, fatigue, memory, focus, headaches, anxiousness, right? And you can see how it improved after using their tests and their supplements and a lifestyle program. So people over 40 They have the G one too, that includes the 5 sex hormones. And they have just the HPA, which has the neurotransmitter and the adrenals. The two big ones, two big hitters that they have. So that's the big picture. And I'm open for questions.
Amazing. Dr. Kanodia, thank you so much for that presentation. I loved how interactive that was. And just another reminder, folks. So we're going to hop right into Q&A. Immediately following the Q&A, I'm going to go ahead and show you all how to order these tests directly through Rupa Health. And I actually just got a note from the Senesco team that they are going to be running a 15% discount on the HPA profile. So more to come on that in the follow-up email. But with that, y'all, let's just go ahead and hop right in. Can thinning of the hair all over the scalp be a sign of high cortisol?
The answer is yes. It definitely can be. And it could be because now you're low cortisol because you had high cortisol for so long. The answer is yes.
Okay, perfect. Margot asked, is it GABA or phenibut? I'm not sure if I pronounced that word correctly.
GABA.
GABA. Okay, wonderful. This is more of a why isn't Rupa when they order through Senesco showing the supplements that you were going over, and I think you answered that one towards the end though. That's the difference in the care report. So adding that care report on to when you're ordering the HPA profiles, we'll go ahead and show you those recommendations that Dr. Kanodia was showing you earlier in the presentation.
Yeah, I guess even though I've done 700, 800 of these tests, I still find that patients like to learn. It saves me a heck of a long time if they read it before they get to my office. And I love that patients can see what supplements I'm going to recommend to them, when to retest. It makes my life easier. Yeah. I know there's a little bit added cost, but the value add is huge.
Absolutely. And just for clarification too, that value is $20, right? And depending on how you're managing billing, that patient would be the one absorbing that cost. And so at the end of the day, $20, when you think about just really the opportunity for you not only to save time, but provide a better overall experience for your patients and give them the opportunity to dive a little bit deeper and learn. It's really not a whole heck of a lot in the grand scheme of things, especially when you're considering a few $100 for a test to begin with. This is a great question. Can these pracs refer patients to you? If so, what's the initial fee?
Yeah. So yes, people can refer us patients. We like to have people come in office, or the state of Ohio patients can be done virtually or phone. Outside of the state of Ohio, we like them to come first time in the state of Ohio for their first appointment, just based on the medical legal. The whole telemedicine across the US isn't still valid yet, and I don't have a medical license in all 50 states. I'd have to apply every time there. But a first appointment is about $440. But we have the health coaching built in for free. So it's great. And we have also a PA, also see news patients, and his charge is even cheaper, like $340. But yeah, we love to see patients. That's my passion, patient care.
That's incredible. Yeah, and we can share your contact or your office contact out during the email if that's okay with you, and I can always grab that after. So what type of test is this? Is this a salivary test, a urine test? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, it's the one that I do. It's salivary and urine.
Yep.
And I think the reason is we get better results. Yes, it's harder than a blood result, but if you want to really know your data, think about functional medicine. It's like really the function of the body. You take one measurement one time, you ain't going to get the right results. Take 4 measurements or 5 measurements throughout one day or multiple days, depending on how you do it, it is much better results, much more accurate. And also, sometimes when people have to put more effort into it, they actually like the results. They think that the results are better. And it's different than their primary care or their specialist office. Absolutely.
The more information, the better, right?
It's more information, but the right information.
There you go.
Right? If you're getting a morning salivary cortisol, just 24-hour morning, you miss 90%, 95% of the boat. If you're just giving an SSRI without checking the dopamine, the serotonin, norepinephrine, epinephrine, cortisols, you're missing 95% of the boat. Your success rate is going to be low.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. When do you taper/discontinue the supplements?
Love the question. And that's an important question. I say 2 things. 1, the patient starts feeling better. Number 2, the labs are normal. When I meet those 2 metrics, hey, let's start lowering the supplements. Let's continue the lifestyle stuff we're doing, new nutrition, exercise, other things. And then let's retest while you're not off the supplements. So many people will be on them 6 to 9 months supplements, and then we try to start lowering it.
Yeah, perfect. Are the supplements that you mentioned previously vegan?
I think so. I don't see why they would not be. Maybe the undigested the enzymes in there, but let's ask a Senesco to be sure.
Yeah, we can get a follow-up from the Senesco team on that one as well. Do you know which profile includes the sex hormones?
It's the HPA-G.
HPA-G, perfect. So this next one is a bit more of a scenario. So if a patient is suffering from lag spasms, diagnosed with PLMD and Parkinson's with conventional neurologist, but has a lot of gut issues as well as and working on that in the meantime, using L-theanine in the meantime to aid with decreasing spasms. Any suggestions for decreasing spasms so the patient can at least sleep?
What I like is, it's like, number one, you have to figure out why the spasms are there.
Mhm.
Right. And so if we're just saying so obviously you test to figure out what's going on. So I like to say, when did the spasms first start? 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, and figure that out. Something has to change. Sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's extra exercise, sometimes it's worsening the Parkinson's. But you have to figure the root cause. Since I don't know the patient, let's just take a couple one-offs. One, I like a supplement called Relax by Nutritional Frontiers. It's a muscle relaxant supplement.
Nice.
Second thing is I like to get people hydrated properly, have them absorb the water. And what I mean is that if people drink water but they pee pretty quickly right afterwards, then they're not absorbing the water. So we use something called like E-Light in the water to help them absorb the water better. And sometimes low iron can also cause that. So do an iron panel on that. If iron is off, get them a chelated iron, not the normal stuff, but a chelated iron that's out there.
Perfect. How would you approach a patient with GAD on Wellbutrin and wanting to get off it in favor of amino acid therapy?
So again, number one, you have to figure out the root cause. When did the GAD and the other symptoms start, right? If you remember one thing, figure out why the symptoms started. And so what they're going to say is it started 5 years ago, 10 years or 20 years ago, but you got to figure out when it started. And the GAD may be different than the other symptom. So I'll say, okay, it started in middle school, high school, wherever, elementary school. What happened then? Most times they'll say, I don't know. So then in a nice way, I try to take a deeper thing. Sometimes it might be something stressful going on in your life. Sometimes it's a cold or flu. Sometimes it was a new medication, new supplement. Sometimes it was some trauma, car accident, bicycle accident. Somebody burned the candle both ends. So I say, what do you think changed from when you were not anxious to the you are anxious? So you have to find that root cause. And I find that it's a multifactorial thing many times. But now, if someone's on, say, Wellbutrin and something else to help with the GAD and the other symptom, I first get them to feel better first while being on the Wellbutrin and other things. Once they start feeling better, I'll say, hey, have your other doc start lowering your medication. Or I can do it too. But I get them to feel better first. And yeah, do I check the HPA test on them? I absolutely do. Most times when they're on medication, they're still having symptoms, they're still low. So Wellbutrin should be working on the dopamine. But many times I still find a low dopamine, even though that they're on the Wellbutrin. So they're on the wrong dose. And some people are so anxious, I increase the Wellbutrin and they actually feel better. Or you may add something to it, like the Procyte D or another dopamine supplement. And I tell them though, right, that there's a potential of a side effect of a dopamine supplement and Wellbutrin. I've never seen it, but in theory, it could be there. And most patients are fine with that. Say, hey, I'm willing to take, if I feel worse, just get off the supplement. But that's the big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these answers, by the way. Quick question from the audience. Sounds like you may get some new partners here. Are you licensed in Hawaii?
I am not licensed in Hawaii. I should be licensed in Hawaii. That's a great place to be licensed in.
Good opportunity there.
Yes, Hawaii. I've been to Maui once. Great place.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a little bit different climate than out in Ohio for you.
Much better.
So next couple questions here, and I want to be conscious of time. How do you proceed with a patient with kidney disease with urinary testing for neurotransmitters? Would 24-hour collection give accurate results?
My answer is yes. I do see kidney patients, and they might be a little bit off. The 90% value of those results is much better than wanting 100% and have nothing. So I still use the tests because it still helps tremendously.
Absolutely. If hormones and neurotransmitters each have their own circadian rhythm, is timing of the test an issue?
Correct. So the HPA test will have you test it at various times of the daytime.
Perfect. So based on your experience, and this is the next question, based on your experience, can we get a rundown on possible transformation at 1 month, 2 month, 3 months, 6 months, so on and so forth, in terms of decrease in symptoms?
Yeah. We say that within the first 3 months, people saying, doc, seeing improvement. And that's maybe 25 to 50% less, whether in GAD or anxiety, depression, etc. Then as they do other lifestyle things, it decreases over time. So we'll see maybe a 75 to 100%, 75, 100, or I can't say 100, maybe like 99%, whatever you want to say, in the first, 9 to 12 months. But again, it depends on the patient. Are they partnering with you? If they're not doing their part, then they're not getting any benefit. They got to do their part. 90% is lifestyle, right? If they're not taking their supplements, it ain't going to work. If they're not sleeping more, eating right, it's not going to work. But like I said, the majority of my patients, the vast majority, within 3 months, say, doc, they're seeing improvement. And our questionnaires show it, and our tracking shows it.
I love that. Time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. Do you follow the diurnal patterns of norepinephrine? Oh my gosh, my brain right now. And epinephrine?
To some degree, yes.
Okay, perfect. And then last question. Are folks able to access the supplements that you mentioned earlier, just through the general, full scripts, or do they have to go directly through a different channel to get access to those?
I don't know. I believe they're probably on full scripts, probably on, I think they are on Emerson, and full scripts obviously owns Emerson.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
Perfect. Okay, y'all. Well, we are currently at the hour mark. Dr. Kanodia, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Again, this was an incredible presentation, super engaging. I think the audience really, really enjoyed it. Do you have any other final thoughts that you want to get out there?
Yeah. Number one, do the test on yourself, and then talk to the educators and learn how to interpret for yourself. Try it yourself. That's why I say number one. And then number two, maybe pick one patient a day in your schedule that you think is stressed, and add it in there, right? Add one test in a day. Just keep it simple. After about 10, and do it for about 10 patients. After that, you're going to get a sense, good, bad, and different. But keep it simple. Don't overwhelm yourselves about this stuff. It's pretty simple. Most of our patients have stress. If we treat the stress, you're gonna look like a superstar.
Love it. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And from here, folks, we're going to hop in. I know we're at the hour mark, but I'm going to show you exactly how to order these tests directly from Rupa Health. And at this time, Dr. Kanodia, you're welcome to jump off, or you can stick around and watch the demo. Completely up to you. But for those of you who are able to stick around, I'm going to do a quick demo of Rupa Health. So if you got about 5 minutes to spare, let's just jump right into it. So what I'm going to show you is Rupa, who we are, what we do, and why do we host these presentations on a weekly basis with our amazing partners such as Senesco. Well, we're a functional medicine lab platform. We were created with the idea in mind of eliminating a lot of the pain points that can be associated with ordering these tests. And unfortunately, right now, there's pain points on almost every coin, on every side of the coin if you flip, right? On the patient side, on the practitioner side. And so to make life easier for you as a practitioner, what we've done is created a marketplace. So now instead of having to go to each individual lab that you want to order from, you just come to Rupa Health and you can order from over 30 plus different labs, over 3,000 different tests without having to go to each individual portal to place your orders as well as to manage your results. So you can order from places, of course, like Senesco, but also Dutch, Genova, Doctor's Data, Diagnostic Solutions. We have genetics tests on here. We have blood tests. So again, the idea here is now instead of having to manage all these different logins, I just can come to Rupa Health and place all my orders. Additionally, you can do things like searching by category for your different types of tests. If you're curious about what the different labs are that we offer here, we even offer cool comparison tools. So if I click into GI testing, for example, it'll bring you into our lab test comparison tool. And this will bring up all the different GI tests that we offer here on Rupa. And this is customizable, by the way. You can set it to be whatever test that you want. It'll give you a breakdown of all the high level information that you're looking to see. Things like cost, you can download sample reports, turnaround times, collection instructions, any additional certifications, and even biomarkers that allows you to just compare all these tests in one place without having to set up separate accounts, without having to even go and log into all your different accounts. So again, everything all under one roof. Starting an order is simple. We just need the patient's first name, last name, and email address. We collect everything else directly from the patients to complete the order. So again, this makes things more streamlined for you. We'll get all the necessary information from the patient. You don't have to have their file up. You just need their first name, last name, email address. Once you're within the order screen, you can do things like customizing bundles. So sets of tests, sets of blood panels from any one of the labs that we work with. You can have them in one bundle. So it's one click, and any test set that you want will be added into your cart straight away. Down below, you can create a favorites list. So individual tests that you commonly order, you can go ahead and put a little heart next to it. And again, this can be from any lab. And so I can order from multiple labs in the click just with a couple clicks. So if I want to order that HbA profile and then I want to add in that care report straight away, there we go. Within a couple seconds, I have those added into my cart. And if that's it, I can click send a patient. But if I'm looking to order any other test, right? Maybe I want to order a GI 360 from Doctor's Data or from Great Plains and Oats, you name it, or any test within the catalog, those are all available at your fingertips. So that's how you order your tests directly from Rupa Health, just within a matter of seconds. Now, let's talk a little bit about how our pricing works, a little bit of customization. So up here at the top, you can do things like scheduling an order out. So if you're retesting a patient, and you want to retest a patient, say every 6 months, every 6 weeks, you name it, you can automate this process. Again, something that would generally be manual on your end, we can automate that process for you. Our pricing, we offer wholesale practitioner prices. So what that means is the same price that you would get having an account directly with the labs. Those are the same prices that we offer here at Rupa Health. So potential savings for your patient, if you're having your patients pay the labs directly for those tests, as a lot of labs oftentimes have two different costs, right? They'll have a cost that they'll associate to the patients. So the patients might be paying a little bit more, but at Rupa, they're always paying that lower price. The way that we generate our revenue is simple. There's a flat 7% processing and ordering fee on each order, and that's paid for by whoever's paying for the tests. So if your patients are the one paying for the tests, then they will be the one absorbing that cost, in this case, $17. And that for you, Rupa's free. There's no cost to sign up for Rupa. There's no subscription fee. There's no minimum spend. You don't sign a contract. You simply create an account. And anytime you want to place an order, this 7% is the only way that we generate our revenue. So just to reiterate, if you're having us bill your patient, then your patient will be the one paying for this. Rupa is free for you. The alternative is, of course, you pay for the tests yourself, which is completely fine. There's no change in cost here. That 7% still applies whether you're paying or the patient's paying, but that allows you to bill your patient separately outside of our platform. So if you want to do any additional costs associated to it, that's completely fine. But one thing to call out here is we do allow you to add some additional fees. So if you do want to add an interpretation fee or anything like that, that's completely fine. From there, you can add notes for the patient. You can add notes for Rupa. You can add ICD-10 codes as well for insurance billing. We don't accept insurance directly through Rupa, but we will be able to create the super bill for your patient. So we'll actually automate this process, send your patient itemized receipt, as well as just a simple template for them to fill out for that super bill if they want to submit that to insurance. All you have to do is add those ICD-10 codes in here, and then we'll be able to do that. My favorite one that I found recently is sibling rivalry. There's some really funny ones on here, but you get it, right? And you can even search by just keyword. You don't need to know the specific ICD code off the top of your head. But from there, you just click send a patient. Now, one thing to call out here is we optimized for drop shipping kits to patients. We are working on building out more of an in-office kit situation. Currently, we can do it with 6 labs. Synesco, unfortunately, is not one of those labs at this time. But if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the kits that we can allow you to stock in office, let me know. But once you click send on the patient on the order, the next thing I want to call out here, which is equally as important to Rupa Health and to your experience with us, is the patient experience. So there's the reason why that 7% exists. It's not just for you to use our platform, but we actually manage your patient experience end to end as well. So as soon as you place that order, we'll reach out to your patient, we'll ship the kits to your patient, we'll send over an email that outlines all the instructions, all the FAQs, all the information necessary to complete the order, including filling out the requisition. We can help coordinate the phlebotomies as well. We'll follow up with your patients, and then from there, you're notified as the results come in. So what does that look like? Well, we'll reach out with an email that looks similar to this. Hi, Joshua. Dr. Jordan has ordered these tests for you. We will introduce who we are. And then an important thing to call out here is not only can we accept credit and debit for these tests, we can also accept HSA, FSA, as well as we can set up a 3-month interest-free payment plan for these tests. I think we all know that these kits can be pretty expensive sometimes. And so this 3-month interest-free payment plan is one of the ways that we go about making it a little bit more affordable. And those kits are shipped out after the very first installment. From there, we'll collect all the necessary information to complete the order from the patient, shipping, demographic, of course, billing. We'll highlight any costs associated to the tests as well. If you decide to pay for the kits yourself, nothing changes in terms of the patient experience. The main differentiator here is that we're simply just not going to show the cost of what you paid for those kits to the patient. They'll still know what the kit was that was ordered for them. They're just simply not going to see any cost as you're handling billing outside of our platform. From there, we'll send over an email that looks similar to this. On the left-hand side, you can see that we'll outline the instructions for each one of the kits and FAQs. A lot of the instructions now have videos. We'll walk them through how to fill out the requisition form. And if there's a blood draw required, we can actually help coordinate that as well. We can customize those instructions. If you do have a recommendation or you can do blood draws in your office, we can of course send that information to the patient. Otherwise, we'll send over information based on the lab that they're working with, as each lab has their own network of phlebotomists. That said, if the patient needs any support or if they want a different option for blood draws in their area, they reach out to us and our team will facilitate both the support as well as searching by their zip code to find any potential options for, let's say, like a mobile phlebotomist. Additionally, we'll even handle any specimen issues as well. So if there is something that happens with the sample and it requires recollection, we'll work directly with the lab as well as the patient to ensure that the patient gets that sample recollected. It will cost nothing additional. You'll be in the know, but again, you don't have to be involved. All this to say, we will handle all of the support, all the heavy lifting, all these things that would ultimately take time out of your day. We'll take care of that, freeing up more time for you to do exactly what Dr. Kanodia's favorite thing in the world to do is, and that's see and help patients. From there, we'll follow up with the patient. I feel like this is a simple step in the process, but can sometimes easily be overlooked, right? Just checking in with the patient, making sure everything's okay, seeing if they have any questions. And then from there, we'll reach out and let you know once those results are in. And you're tracking everything just directly within your main dashboard here. So I can search by patient, I can filter by status of the order. And so if I want to click into any existing order that I have, I can see things such as when the sample arrived at the lab, when I can expect the results to come in. And once those results are in, I just hop in here, I can download them, I can send them to my patients, I can request a clinical consultation as well. So if I need some assistance interpreting results, I can just hop in here and schedule that clinical consultation directly with the lab, not with Rupa, but with the lab that you ordered the tests from. If you're working with an EHR such as Practice Better, Elation, or Optomantra, our results will go directly into your EHR as well. And there's plenty more integrations to come, so don't worry on that. So that's the core product of Rupa Health, right? How you're able to place your orders from all these different labs in one place, track and manage your results, have your patient experience taken care of. But more than just a place to do all that, we also want to be a place where you can come and continue to learn. And that's what Rupa University is. Rupa University is our educational leg of Rupa Health. You're actually all in a Rupa University class right now with Senesco. So you'll be able to have access to all these ones that we've done in the past. You can see that we've done them with doctors' data, with real-time labs, with Genova, with a ton of these different, Dr. Smeaton, who's now the head of medical education over at Dutch. So we really do partner with our lab partners to ensure that we're providing educational content that's going to be valuable to you as a practitioner. These are free to sign up for. If you happen to miss one, you can always record it or watch the recording on our platform. And beyond just these free classes, we even have paid options as well. So for example, Dr. Carrie Jones, our head of medical education here at Rupa Health, an absolute rock star. She teaches these 6-week boot camps. This one that we have coming up is connecting the dots on female hormones from PMS to PCOS. These are paid options, 6-week deep dives, but they do come with a free test. So this one's for Dutch, for example. And then we actually even have one for Lyme as well. So if you're interested in Lyme and learning a little bit about Lyme, we have one coming up with Dr. Jaquel Patterson, who's working with IGeneX in this case, with this one as well, similarly. You pay for it, but you also get some free tests to run it on yourself so you can follow along through the process to see how to best interpret these. So if you have any questions, I'm going to put my contact information up here. I'm going to check the chat real quick. But My name is Adrian Martinez. I'm the head of practitioner partnerships here at Rupa Health. Keep an eye out for a follow-up email coming your way in the this afternoon with my information. So if you do have any questions or want to set up any time to chat, I'm more than happy to do so. This is my contact information. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you do need anything from me. And it looks like Dr. Kanodia shared his information out there. But I will copy that and make sure that I just follow up in the email with that. But that's it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you really enjoy the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Find me at adrian@rupahealth.com, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much.